The Independent National Electoral Commission says more than 62,000 cases of double voter registration have been discovered in Anambra. Chairman of INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, made this known at an emergency meeting of political parties on Friday.
The meeting became necessary in order to brief the parties on the Commission's preparations for the state's governorship election and to discuss recent developments. Furthermore, the Commission's chairman said security around INEC facilities in the state have been increased in preparation for the election and appealed to political parties to tone down their utterances to allay violence.
Discovered that many previously registered persons actually re-registered afresh. As a testimony to the effectiveness of our new system for checking double and multiple registrations, the Commission found out that some 62,698 persons who are already registered as voters in Anambra State went ahead to register again. These double or multiple registrants are invalid by law. We have archived these registrations and will not print new PVCs for them. Their old PVCs remain valid, and they can use them to vote in the polling units where they registered and probably voted in previous elections. Let me remind all Nigerians to the fact that the law prohibits double registration.
Well, joining us now to speak on Anambra governorship polls, latest development is INEC'S National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Yeah, good morning.
All right. Well, in the past 10 months, there have been multiple violent attacks in Anambra State and other parts of the southeast region. Even the Nigerian Army launched its new exercise codenamed Golden Dawn in that region to stem the tide of criminality. Now, I guess the big question in everyone's mind is, will the November 6th election be conducted amid the security tension? And how prepared is the Commission with regards to conducting a free, fair, and credible election come November 6th?
The Commission is proceeding with the conduct of the November 6th governorship election in Anambra State. This is because under Section 178, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, the period for the conduct of governorship elections has been completely circumscribed. In other words, the section obligates the Commission not to conduct the governorship election earlier than 150 days to the terminal date of the incumbent, and then not later than 30 days to the expiration of the term of office of the incumbent. The implication is that the Commission cannot conduct the governorship election in Anambra State earlier than October 18th, 2021, and we cannot conduct it later than February 15th, 2022. So the implications are very, very clear. And that is why, based on the constitutional provision, and also in order not to allow the country slip into a constitutional confusion or crisis, we have decided to ramp up our activities and proceed with the election. And you can see that we released the timetable and schedule of activities for the conduct of the Anambra governorship election on the 19th day of January 2021. And out of the 14 items on that particular agenda, we have implemented 10 of them. So the activities that are remaining are just 4, and we are proceeding with the conduct of the election.
All right, Mr. Okoye, thanks for that clarification. But in giving this position, how are you working in sync with other agencies of government, particularly the Office of the Attorney General, the police, and other security agencies? Because to suggest towards the possibility of a state of emergency is not a small matter. And we know the mood of the public. If elections could hold in Borno, in Kaduna, and a few other places that are very volatile in terms of security, why can't it hold in Anambra? But this is not as straightforward as it may sound. So how are you carrying along other government agencies to assure the public that the election will indeed hold on November the 6th?
Well, if you look at Section 78, Section 118, and Item 15 of Part 1 to the third schedule to the Constitution, the functions and remit of the Independent National Electoral Commission have been clearly articulated and set out. Our position and our mandate is to organize, undertake, and supervise elections to the various offices listed in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that's exactly what we are doing. Now, the Nigerian Police Force is the lead agency in terms of election security. And over the years, they have been working with the different armed forces and the different agencies of government in terms of making sure that they secure the electoral environment for free, fair, and credible elections. Now, we have what we call the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, both at the national level, at the state level, and also at the local government level. And we, at the national level, we met with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security on the 5th day of October 2021. And we also met with the leadership of the political parties on the 8th day of October 2021. And what we have done is to consult with them widely and also get briefing from the security agencies in terms of the type of measures they are putting in place to secure the electoral environment, secure the participation of voters, secure election materials, and also secure our election duty staff that will be deployed on election day. And as some of you are aware, in terms of ad hoc staff, we are going to deploy a total of 25,009 ad hoc staff. And this excludes other categories of staff. And if you include other categories of staff, it means that we are going to deploy at least 26,000 election duty staff for the election. So the security agencies have moved in. They have secured our facilities both at the state level and also at the local government levels. And they have assured us that at least 2 weeks to the election, that they will secure the electoral environment in such manner that will enable us to deploy effectively, and also reassure the voters that they can come out to come and vote, and that their security and safety will be assured.
Understood. I mean, as you said, this is definitely you, INEC, putting in a lot of measures of security, but this is happening in an albeit insecure environment. And it does sound as though the reckoning of the federal government, even toying with the idea of declaring a state of emergency, must be a huge slap in the face in terms of your level of preparedness for this election. Can you talk to us firstly about what it takes for you to make sure that this election will be secure, what measures you put in place to make sure that everything goes to plan? And secondly, if you can tell us about the burden that you have, at what point would the insecurity situation be so grave that you would recommend perhaps a postponement, or is that not on the cards for you at all?
Well, as you are aware, and as has just been pointed out, we have a total of 21 local government areas in Anambra State. And we have made sure that the security agencies secure our offices in these 21 local governments because these are the staging posts for the conduct of elections and for the deployment of election materials. We also have a total of 326 registration areas or wards. And these registration areas, some of the election materials will be batched in accordance with the registration areas so that they will be easy for us to carry out deployment. Now, we also have a total of 5,726 and 20 polling units in Anambra State. We are going to deploy presiding officers, assistant presiding officers, supervisory presiding officers, and other categories of staff to these polling units. So they have to be secured. And as has been pointed out, for the purposes of this particular election, a total of 2,525,471 registered voters will elect the next governor of Anambra State. These people have to be secured. So that's exactly what we have done. As you are aware, our offices in Anambra, our head office in Anambra was attacked on the 23rd day of May 2021. Our store was burnt. 326 generating cells that were mopped off from the registration areas were burnt. 6 utility vehicles were burnt. Our collation center was burnt. We have reconstructed all these things. And then, as the chairman pointed out, 60% of the non-sensitive election materials already deployed to Anambra State were also burnt. We have reconstructed these facilities that were burnt. We have replaced the items that were burnt, and we are now moving in the non-sensitive materials to our office in Awka, and from there we are going to deploy them to the various local governments. So we have been assured by the security agencies that in relation to this particular election, that they have the capacity to secure the electoral environment, and that they are going to at least deploy effectively within a period of the 2 weeks before the election. And they have also promised to share information and also to share intelligence and also act professionally and secure the environment in such manner that the people will have confidence that it is not a force for occupation, but a force for the protection of the people, and also a force to reassure them that they can come out to vote and that they will be secure during this particular election.
Well, it does appear that, you guys have deployed a great security measure at this point, but you know that the violent attacks in Anambra and many parts of the East region have been widely attributed to the activities of the indigenous people of Biafra and its security outfits. And it has also been rumored that IPOB may declare a sit-at-home order in Anambra on the day of election in a bid to frustrate the conduct of the election in that state. So now, if that happens, what measures has INEC put in place to ensure that voters are not disenfranchised?
Well, the conduct of election is a multi-stakeholder venture. We cannot go it alone. The security agencies must be involved in securing the electoral environment. Speaking with the traditional rules.
Well, it sounds like we might have lost connection to Abuja there. Will our technical team take a look at that? Perhaps we'll discuss amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, as it stands, Anambra is a very volatile situation right now. It seems as though it's only getting more and more volatile. So I wonder, I can understand the INEC wanting to make sure that they protect November 6th and everything leading up to it, but it does seem as though...
But yeah, he has spoken very well. It's not just about INEC. Exactly. It's not just about INEC. The police will have to be carried along, the state security apparatus, Okay, so it looks like our guest is back. Mr. Okoye.
Mr. Okoye.
Are you there? Okay, sorry, we had a little disruption.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Please go on.
Yes, I'm here. Very well. So the religious leaders have been speaking, traditional leaders have been speaking, civil society groups and organizations are out there in the field, mobilizing the people, reassuring them of their safety, reassuring them of their security. So the issue of security is being discussed at the topmost level. Now, I believe that it is in the interest of our people, in the interest of the nation, and also in the interest of political parties that this election should go on. And that was why the chairman of the commission has advised political parties to tone down their utterances, see this period as requiring a high level of statesmanship, patriotism, and maturity, so that through their utterances, the people will not be scared, and the people will have assurance that they can go out and vote. Now, I believe that the people of Anambra State want a very, very smooth transition because the challenges of not having a smooth transition can be very, very grave. Now, as I pointed out, we must conduct the governorship election within the constitutional window allowed, and this constitutional window will close on the 15th day of February 2022. But within the intervening period between October 18, 2021 and February 15, 2022, if something touches on the issue of law and order and the people are unable to exercise their franchise, we can adjust within the confines of Section 26 of the Electoral Act within this particular period. But the moment you begin to touch on these days that are immovable, these days that are like the Rock of Gibraltar, you will not run into problem, because by the provisions of Section 179, subsection 4 of the Constitution, if there's no clear winner at the first ballot, the Constitution has given the Commission a total of 21 days to remobilize and conduct another election. So that is why we normally leave a gap in between this immovable period for us to maneuver. And the moment you maneuver and then you run out of the constitutional window, you create a constitutional logjam, and that now leaves that removes the whole thing from the purview, from the hands of the Independent National Electoral Commission, and now domiciles it in the hands of the governor, the State Assembly, the President, and the National Assembly. So in terms of the other issues you are suggesting, it has completely nothing to do with the Commission. The Commission's remit is to organize, undertake, and supervise elections, acting in conjunction with the security agencies, with the political parties, with the traditional rulers, and other stakeholders, other critical stakeholders in the electoral process.
Well, thank you for that. I think this would be a good time to take a short break, and when we'll come back, we'll continue on the conversation. So please stay with us.
You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. And we're still on to Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the Commissioner for INEC in charge of information and voter awareness. So good to have you back, Mr. Okoye. And I like to say that
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I like to say that I stand with you on that rock of Gibraltar in ensuring that the election proceeds on November the 6th. However, you said to us that more than 2.5 million voters have been registered, and would determine who becomes the governor of Anambra State. But I'm aware, of course, just like you said earlier, that more than 60,000 of those will have been removed because of double and multiple registrations. Now, my point is, usually when you have a certain number of people registered for an election, barely 40 to 50% of them will come out on election day. So give and take, we're looking at maybe 1 million, 1.5 million max to come out for the elections in Anambra. But given this pervasive sense of insecurity, and the back and forth over what might happen, do you think that will further reduce voter participation on that day?
Well, this present commission, we are determined to conduct a good election. We are upbeat about the processes and procedures we have put in place. As you are aware, we increased the number of polling units in Anambra State and in all parts of the Federation to take some of these polling units closer to the people, to enable pregnant women to access the polling units easily, to enable the elderly access the polling units, and also to enable those with other challenges to access the polling units easily. So that will also increase, hopefully, voter participation. We have also engaged in this online voter registration process, and that was why the figure for Anambra increased. And we also devolved the registration process to the various registration areas. And now, what has happened is that I think that because some people were apprehensive because of the enthusiasm. Some went and did multiple registration. So the figure I gave to you is the figure that we arrived at after excluding the 62,698 persons that engage in double registration, whose registration we have archived. So I really believe that the religious leaders are doing their bit in order to reassure people that all will be well. The traditional rulers are also doing their best. So all the people who are aggrieved can come to a table and then let issues be put on the table and discuss. I believe that violence cannot solve the challenges of our electoral process and cannot solve the challenges of our development and democracy. So the implication is that it is in our interest to make sure that our electoral process continues to grow, that our electoral process continues to be sustained, and that our democracy does not regress. So I believe that we are going to have a very good election. I also believe that the people are enthusiastic about who becomes their next governor and that they will come out to come and vote despite all the challenges we are having. Because these challenges are not rooted particularly to Anambra State. These challenges seems to be nationwide, and the security agencies, the leadership of the country, and also the commission are all battling in different ways and in different directions to make sure that some of these challenges are obviated and so that it doesn't affect our democratic development and our electoral process. So we are upbeat about this election, and our officers on ground are engaged in massive voter education and massive voter mobilization, and the civil society groups are out there. Yaga Africa is out there. The Situation Room is out there. The Transition Monitoring Group is already in Anambra State, mobilizing people, reassuring people that all will be well, and also appealing to persons who are aggrieved to give peace a chance so that we can conduct a good election in Anambra State.
You said that these insecurity issues aren't unique to Anambra. And I think we can all agree to that, especially with the state of Nigeria as it stands now. Another thing that's not unique to Anambra, but definitely has been unique to elections of recent, is voter apathy. You've talked about the more than 2 million people who are eligible to vote, but often we also know that the number of people who have the right to vote, who are eligible to vote, don't always tally up with the number of people who actually go out to vote on that day. So while we're talking about your optimism that despite the security challenges, there will still be a successful election, what moves really are you putting in place to make sure that voter apathy doesn't rear its ugly head once again in this election?
One, we have ramped up our voter education programs, both on television and on the radio. And our head of department in charge of voter education in Anambra and the resident electoral commissioner in Anambra State have been doing a lot in making sure that they sensitize the people. We are also working collaboratively with all the civil society groups and organizations that have been accredited to observe the elections in Anambra State. Most of them are already in Anambra doing their bit and doing their best to make sure that the issue of voter apathy does not rear its head in this particular election. And we have also been explaining to people the new location of the polling units that have been created so that we don't have so much overcrowding at the old polling units that were there. So I really believe that the political parties must adopt more modern, more creative, and more innovative approaches in campaigning. Yes, I understand the fact that some of them are not engaged in rallies anymore. Some of them are not doing campaigns and so on and so forth. But that is the challenges of this particular period. That's the challenge of the pandemic. So they can utilize the radio, they can utilize the television, they can also utilize the social media in reaching some of their members. So they must design creative approaches and creative means of reaching the voters, because these are unusual periods. These are unusual circumstances. The person-to-person approach to voter mobilization is no longer a feasible thing to do at this particular moment. So while we look for ways by which the security agencies will protect their rallies and protect their campaigns, they must also design new ways and new means of reaching the voters. So this thing, if we act together and recognize the fact that we have a challenge, we have a problem, and that we must move on with our democratic system and our electoral process, I think that everything will be well with this particular election.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Okoye, for joining us on the morning show today, and we hope to have a peaceful election on November 6th. Thank you so much.